And I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. August the 12th, the Human Services Commission. I'm not going to read the governor's proclamation on why we have to do it this way. I'd like to go ahead and have a roll call. Rita, call the roll, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So Commissioner Gunno,
Present.
Commissioner Ellis,
Present.
Commissioner Mir,
Present.
Commissioner Nishioka,
Present.
Commissioner Kayla. CJ, can you hear us? Oh, bless. Okay, we're going to come back to CJ. Commissioner Hall,
Here.
Commissioner Bottenberg.
Present.
Okay. CJ, can you hear us? CJ? Can we say that we see him? But I suppose he needs to.
Is there a way
Okay.
to
Well,
message him?
we're gonna mark CJ as here because we can all clearly see him.
Unless he's holding up his picture or somebody's, how do we know that's really him present?
It's him.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
But we are going to have to, can Mike call him because we have to have him on because he's going to have to give his presentation.
Yes, Chair Gunno, I did send Commissioner Kaler the call-in information earlier, so he should have that in his email inbox.
Okay, great. Mike, can we get a flag?
Yes, sir.
He's not looking at it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
I'd like to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That actually sounded a little bit better than last week, guys. I'm getting better at this.
A little more coordinated, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
So has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yep.
Yes. I'll accept a motion to approve unless there's some changes.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Great, the agenda is approved. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any omissions or corrections?
Nope.
None? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to accept.
So moved.
Tom, did I hear you second it? So moved.
You didn't, but I will. I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, I got all the ayes. So the minutes are approved. Mike, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one public commenter tonight. His name is Jack Edgerton. He is on the go-to meeting this evening. I will, let's see. Just trying to find him on here. Jack, if you can hear me, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and then you'll have 3 minutes to provide public comment.
Great, thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
My name is Jack Edgerton. I'm the Executive Director at Eastside Baby Corner. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the City of Sammamish for its support in helping Eastside Baby Corner accomplish its mission of helping children thrive by meeting their basic needs. Throughout our community, families are struggling to pay rent, put food on the table, and make sure that their children have what they need to be healthy and to thrive. At Eastside Baby Corner, we collaborate with partners to not only make sure that children have their basic health and safety needs met, but we also work to reduce family stress and provide that boost that many families need to make it through difficult times. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us the challenges many families in our community are facing. By providing diapers, formula, car seats, basic hygiene supplies, and more, Eastside Baby Corner adds to a family's ability to care for their children's basic needs and stretch scarce dollars. I appreciate all of the work that you are doing to ensure that Sammamish's children and families have their basic needs met. Your support of Eastside Baby Corner makes a real difference, and we are proud to be partnering with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Edgerton. Is there anyone else, Mike?
I do not see anybody else on the GoToMeeting.
I don't see anybody either. Either, I guess it is.
Either.
So,
It's possible.
either. Okay, thanks, Joyce. Let's go ahead and move on to new business. Rita, you have our staff update?
Yes, sorry about that, guys. Just make sure. CJ, is CJ on or is he off?
Looks like it's off.
His webcam's up. Okay. Okay. CJ, can you hear us? Okay. Are you calling? Do you have instructions?
We can see you, CJ.
You do? Okay. He's saying yes. Okay. Can I forward you this? Okay. Okay. One minute, CJ. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, we'll take care of CJ. He did send me a message, so I'm going to quickly forward this message to Mike, so that Mike can listen to it. Because here we go, Mike. I've sent that to you. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. As far as so I met you guys a couple of weeks back, so there's not a whole lot to report on. We were meant to go to council last night. As you recall, council wanted to see Q2 data. And so we went to council last night, and then at 10 o'clock, they decided to punt us off until next week. So we waited, and we were going to present, and they had a packed agenda. So we're going to be going up to council on Tuesday, the 18th. And I think we're first up on the agenda. So if you recall, they really wanted to see some data points relating to Q2 reporting between this year and last year, really trying to understand the impacts of COVID on organizations that provide for residents. And just another thing, on Saturday, August the 22nd, the City of Sammamish have organized a food drive benefiting Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank and HopeLink. It will be from 12 to 4 at the CWU parking lot. It will be a contactless food drive. Both food banks agreed on a list of items that we're now going to be sending out to the public, and I'll forward that to you guys as well. So both the food banks have a specified number of items that they're in need of. So they don't want you to go to your pantry and find that 10-year-old can of olives, right? Like there's certain things that they need, and so that's what they're specifying. And so it'll be benefiting both HopeLink and Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. We're very excited about it, and we're really going to try and message that out heavily. Mike, can you see that?
Okay. The phone number.
Okay. And then I'm just in the middle of processing Q2 payments. So we're just looking at everything and processing. So I'm just in the middle of that, along with everything else. So it's kind of very basic today. If anyone has any questions for me, please go ahead and ask.
Were there any highlights or new news that you were going to present last night that you could share with us?
Well, I think a lot of the salient points we covered with you guys as a commission. Like, there were some areas where, services were going up, but again, data points really don't necessarily tell the full story. So for instance, LifeWire, it's very kind of comparable to this time last year. And that, that sort of level of calls that are coming into LifeWire, that's consistent with other domestic violence organizations and what they're seeing within King County. So the thought is that as lockdown, survivors are sitting in the homes with their abusers. And the thought and reasoning is that as lockdown eases, there'll be more and more calls into domestic violence organizations. I think we shared all the points with you guys the last go round. Again, I feel like data points really only tell just a fraction of the story. And, we're not showing, and we said this in the agenda bill to council, this is a snapshot. This is not the entire human service needs of the community that are shown right here. And also service units, are not the same from organization to organization. Some organizations have had to morph the way they're working in order to better respond to COVID. There's a lot going on. So data points are great, but they only tell a fraction of the actual story.
And has that postcard gone out?
It is, yes, it has. We've approved it, and it's a big postcard because it turned out, I think it's a 5x7, or actually larger than a 5x7. First we were going to do it in a 4x6. So it was going to take 5 days. So I think this weekend it will be in homes. Yeah. So they were going to put it through the distribution system. We okayed it. And let me see if they actually have a date. But yes, that should be coming very soon.
Cool.
Yeah. It's all on their end now, printing and yeah. So, any other questions? Okay, so I think what we're going to be doing now, I don't know, Chair, do we want to go on to the next?
Can you hear us, Stan?
My microphone was muted because I didn't want feedback. But yeah, we're ready.
Do we have CJ?
CJ is having technical difficulties. We hope he's not very loud. We're hoping he's going to join us. I believe he can hear us, right, Mike? But is it working?
Maybe it's the same speaker button push there that I have.
Okay, so Mike is working on it. So I don't know if the basic need. Joyce, you were the first one up, right, for basic needs and the.
Yes, well, I need my compatriot here. I'd like to hear him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just bear with us. He's speaking to Mike. Mike's super smart. Yeah. Mike will figure it out. Oh, I think, okay. I think we're close.
Hello, CJ.
I think he's calling and probably going to have to end.
No, I think we're going to hit bingo. I think we should do them.
So while we're waiting, I did want to just say I really appreciated the conversation a week or so ago on white fragility and the tone, the tenor, the thoughtfulness, and just made me feel even better about this group. So just want to acknowledge that it was, I think, a good moment and a good thing to have done. And obviously, we're not there yet, but I just want to acknowledge it.
God, I can't believe I'm trying to eat toffee.
I agree.
And I was really happy to have that in-depth conversation and really happy to see that folks were comfortable enough to talk about what makes you uncomfortable and lean into that. And Joyce, I could just see your brain blowing up with information, and it was really cool to see. So I know it's overwhelming, but it was really, really awesome to hear.
I can't believe I'm eating
I
Tommy's.
think it's
It can't be just
to me, it was a
Tommy's.
good start, and I can't wait till we go to the next session.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Which will be after we presented this thing to the council, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about
So I
6.
So it'll be after,
Yeah, when do
after
we-
our recommendation to
Present it.
council. So it'll be after the 26th. We'll have to have a meeting after the 26th.
Come on, CJ. How come I
Joyce,
could
can
work
you-
it so well on the computer last time and I can't this time? What happened? Is this a new team thing or what?
Nope, we're still on
Well, let's-
GoToMeeting. Sometimes it works in mysterious ways. Hard to say why you can't connect tonight.
Can we go to Zoom sometime?
This is kind of the standard that our IT department likes to use. They don't typically, when we start using a piece of software, they don't like to deviate, but it's certainly something I can ask them about.
Well, we
And,
usually
looks like
haven't we been using Team as well?
Yeah. Yeah, that.
for council and commission meeting. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to
Michael?
say for council and commission meetings, we've been using GoToMeeting as our standard. There have been some other, I think the equity training that we did earlier this year with the commission utilized Teams. So if it's something that the commission wants to look into, we can evaluate other meeting software options.
I know
Yeah, something that
when
doesn't
we
take us
have
a half an
our,
hour.
well, and I think when we have our sync up with Tom, myself, and Rita, I think we use Teams, don't we?
Yeah, that seemed to work fine earlier today. Zoom is weird. I don't know if you all heard, but the senior center had a seminar that we had Jeff Renner, local celebrity meteorologist, talk about his stress reduction techniques. And at the very end, we had extremely unwelcome guests join us. So we hadn't used all the protocol for password, et cetera, and we advertised pretty broadly. So lesson learned, we had to shut it down very quickly. And
Wow.
that was kind of, not what you'd want to see. It was a great session for the first 45 minutes. So I'm just saying Zoom has, there have been those called Zoom bombs that has happened.
Huh.
And
How
we
we
had the
doing,
police
CJ?
last
Anything?
week, remember, Tom?
What's that?
We had the police chief last week and we didn't have any problems
I
whatsoever.
know. Well, you know why? We didn't put it out as broadly, I think. Yeah, I still want to, actually, while we're waiting, Rita or anyone, suggestion was to make the Sammamish police aware of what happened. It was a nasty video that someone brought up, but their likenesses were there, and there were 4 of them, I think. Is there
Yeah.
anybody at the Sammamish police I could just make them aware of? And I don't know if they look into these kinds of things. Because it was
Yeah, I would reach out to Elena Hall. I can forward you her email.
That would
She's
be
like
great.
the admin there that will is the person that will kind of like field and so I'm happy to forward that email to you.
Great. Yeah, at least to try. It's not the first time this has happened on Zoom, I'm sure, but maybe they have, sort of cyber tools they could use to find out who's doing this.
You
Wow.
recorded it. didn't
Goodness.
you, Tom,
What's that?
you were recording the session.
Yes. Yes, I have it fully recorded.
So Joyce, can you and Terry start the basic needs?
I am starting. Okay, with or without hearing from CJ. All right.
Rita,
You'll
can you
see.
go ahead and You have a slide
Yep,
presentation as well?
Yep, we have it. You should be seeing it now. And so, Joyce, I am going to go through them. So just so you know, this is just to give you a little bit of timeline. We're doing the basic needs tonight. On August the 26th, we'll develop the final recommendations. And then on September the 15th, we'll present the grant recommendation to council. So this is basic needs, and this is just an example of, not an example, this shows all the grants that have come in, and the group tonight is going to be going in the order of requested amounts. So the first one will be the most requested amount from the city to the least requested, and it's going to be split 10, 10, and 10. So with that, I'm going to put the PowerPoint to the first slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Joyce.
Okay, what you're going to hear tonight is that basic needs is primarily homelessness, food, case management, a lot of coordination with other agencies also through information and referral, GED, adult education, training, workshops, all the basic things in life. Many of the applications allude to cultural inclusivity, mental wellness, seniors. It is something that I think that we could put most of these right back into mental wellness. Quite a few into cultural inclusivity, some in domestic violence. You'll see, hear some of them tonight here. The Sophia Way, this is a new shelter, Helen's Place, and they're asking monies, as you can see, to afford getting it started on the second floor of their Sophia's Place. They asked for $34,000. We are recommending $10,000. Last year we gave them $7,300. They have, of course, brand new, so there's no projection of how many Sammamish residents would be there, but this is where that regional good comes into play. That if we don't provide support, we are not doing a good service for our own community. And I believe it is important that we support regional services as well as direct services to Sammamish residents in need or who may be in need. As you see here, it's 80 unduplicated women per day. They have 48 shelter beds. They have a case manager, a mental health counselor. 26% of their typical homelessness are Black, another 13% are multiracial, and about 3% each of the others. The balance is white. What they're saying is 38% of homelessness in King County are women. And the belief is that about 90% of those women come in with a sexual or domestic violence background. 30% of these individuals are between the ages of 55 and 89. We are recommending $10,000, which is a jump of $2,700 over last year.
How much did they request, Joyce?
We requested $34,147.
Okay.
This is a brand new shelter, so they're staffing it as a 24/7.
And it's located in Kirkland?
Yes, it is. It opens up in September. Any more questions?
Joyce, did you say we gave them 7,300 last year?
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're just getting started now. Were they still in the formative stage last year too?
It was towards Sophia Way general.
The general instead of this unique thing. Got it. Okay, thank you.
It's interesting about the senior women here. They're not chronically homeless. but have lost their homes for the first time due to rapidly rising rents, medical issues, and Social Security benefits that cover just 30% of the average cost of living. Clients are referred to them through that 211 and through the coordinated entry for all. Rita, do you want to give us some background on how that works? I remember it was discussed quite in that Bellevue Human Services Commission meeting we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Before I start, CJ, can you hear us, please?
I can hear you.
Yay! Woohoo!
Oh, good. We can hear you.
Wonderful. You can put your phone on speaker as well, CJ, if that's easier.
Okay.
Fabulous. Okay, so we can hear you. Sorry, Joyce, what was the question?
Coordinated entry for all. That was one of the big discussion items at that 5 Human Service Commission meetings in Bellevue a couple of years ago that you attended. And
right,
the way for 211 to come in and be able to identify what and where and how with a single entry point.
Right. Yes. So I think, a lot of people are referred to 211 and then they basically triage and take an intake and then basically will then refer folks to resources.
I guess we can move to the next one.
So Joyce, was that accepted? I didn't hear the vote on that.
Are we voting on
We're
each
not
one of
voting
these?
tonight.
I think we're just
We're
moving
not
right
voting
along.
tonight.
Just listening, okay.
Oh, just so you know, there
Yeah,
was
we're just doing the presentation
$302,000 requests, and we're bringing to you $188,000 in recommendations. That's 62% of it. And meanwhile, we'd like to be able to, pull in some cultural inclusivity and the domestic violence and the seniors and just include what's really needed here. This one, Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank, Rita?
Yes, that's right. Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank.
Okay, this is for general operating expenses. They requested $25,000. We are recommending $20,000. In 2019, we provided $12,500. There are 300 in 2019. They had 315 98075 and 98029 Sammamish residents existing, and they are projecting 400 in 2021. They've had a lot of impact from the COVID. They've expanded this summer to the 98074 for deliveries. They have high numbers. There's been a cut in federal food stamps. To me, it's a no-brainer that we do what we can for them. We moved from our 12,500 to the 20,000. Tom, can you speak to some of the good things they're doing?
Well, yeah, I could go on and on, but the short version is during COVID, they have completely retumbled their distribution system and are now literally in the parking lot giving away emergency boxes. They've also and they've seen something like an uptick in new users, 20%, with an expectation they will see even more with unemployment, stubbornly high and stimulus checks TBD. Also, they've done a lot more in lunches for kids, significant uptick there, like 600% or some crazy number. So they are a group that is very agile, hardworking, and really connected in the community as well. So they kind of have this network that they help other nonprofits. I certainly endorse them.
I think we do too.
All right, thank you.
Any questions, anybody? St. Vincent de Paul, Rita? Mary Queen of Peace is all volunteer, St. Vincent de Paul. They asked for 20, we're recommending 20. In 2019, we provided 10,000. The funding is primarily for rent and eviction prevention, for hunger, for utility, for financial crisis. Anybody who walks in the door can get help. You don't have to be Catholic or green or red or anything else there. In 2019, they had 275 Sammamish residents. They're projecting the same for 2021. We know COVID has greatly impacted their caseload. We definitely recommend the full 20,000 that they requested.
Rita, do you know how much they were given as part of the Corona supplement by the city?
10,000?
So they were given on July, the middle of July, they were given 20,000. So 10,000 apiece to both the food banks and 20,000. Then in April, they were given an additional 14,000. They also rely very heavily on community, like church congregation services for donations. So they've lost that. And so, I've been in contact with them on a very, very regular basis. So the amount of residents they're serving has increased substantially.
Thank you.
I could add to that too, because of the governor's restrictions on how many people can go to what kind of church meeting and at what time. That also has reduced their income.
Yeah, plate giving is important in the churches, especially for these mission projects.
Thank you.
Sophia Way? Okay, this is a 21-day extended shelter for women, 24-hour access, Bellevue and Kirkland locations. We gave them $4,000 in 2019. They're asking for $19,966. We're recommending $10,000 at this time. They have been 12 hours. They are moving to 24 hours. They are able to have folks there for 6 months. They have case management, workshops, training, and they have what they call their Silver Tsunami, senior women ages 55 plus who have lost homes due to the rent cost, medical. And about 70% of them have a domestic or sexual violence background. Again, we're recommending 10,000. They asked for 19. It's hard to bring these numbers down to a number that the city is going to be able to give.
Do you, well, we don't know what the city can give, right?
Well, let's go in for 100% then.
I suspect the city has resources. Did you say how much Sammamish residents, do they have that, or is that even anything they offer here?
0 and 0.
0 and 0. So this is a community give back,
Yes.
which, as you mentioned, is not a bad thing, but worth noting.
It is. I need it. Okay, hopefully. Adult education. They have been providing until COVID, training in Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond, and Shoreline. They're doing all things virtual now. They asked for 18,500. In the past, we gave them 1,000. They have 20 Sammamish residents who participated in these trainings in 2019. They're projecting 23 for 2021. They asked for 18,500. That's a huge jump. We're recommending 5,000. In the GED program, they had Sammamish residents participated in 40 hours of this. Remember, there's 20 Sammamish residents. They're projecting 114 hours in the GED education. As English for work, they had 1,194 hours in 2019 for Sammamish residents. They're projecting 1,320 hours. These are year-round classes. There is one-on-one support, and they're offered mornings and evenings. This is for ages 16 plus. Adult education is pretty much in the 25 to 74-year age bracket. 85% of the participants are immigrants. And the costs that they are saying to us here is that they're asking for 50% support of each of these individuals, and that represents $810 per student. Again, we're recommending $5,000. They asked for $18,500. This is a hard one. 85% immigration. Any questions? This is about community services. Okay, this is for emergency financial assistance. This is an all-volunteer organization. They support Sammamish residents living in the 98075 and 98029, which you know hopefully covers the other half of the city. They asked for $17,400. We're recommending $17,400. They had 51 Sammamish residents in the year 2019. They're projecting 100 for 2021. If we take a look at what's happening with their COVID-19 impact for evictions and utilities and bus tickets, it's likely that projection will be considerably higher. They used to have an annual holiday fundraiser that was run by the Issaquah Press. And when it went out of business, it was taken on by the Review and the Reporter. And we know what happened to them. So they lost their big sponsorship there. They're doing as best they can. They've been given special monies from Issaquah to be able to serve their community. So people living in Issaquah, a special COVID funding of about $50,000. They're asking us for $17,400. We're recommending that amount.
Joyce, how do they differ in services from St. Vincent de Paul?
I know they work together. Where one can do 500 every 6 months, maybe twice a year, the other one can do something. They both have a two-part process of taking the casework information and then making a home visit in the sense of St. Vincent de Paul, which of course is not happening now. And of course, it's not happening now with Issaquah Community Services. They need some money.
Has always
we don't
been
know what's going to happen when these rent extensions and the mortgage extensions just don't continue to let people delay in paying, but they will have to pay eventually. Tom, you could speak to that.
Well, and yeah, what I would say is, and the food bank it helps with a stipend to Issaquah Community Services. So I'm fairly familiar. I've always thought about them and St. Vincent de Paul as two sides of the same coin. The strain now is the coin is shrinking and the need is growing. So they do a similar community eviction prevention, utilities, etc. But really, when you look at both of their budgets, it's kind of drop in the bucket versus what the need always has been, and now it's doing nothing but increasing. And they don't compete against each other, but they are in the same space.
Mm-hmm. And they refer to each other.
Yes.
It's been too close for one to be able to help again. They refer to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Our next one is Friends of Youth. Okay, this is for the drop-in services for homeless youth and young adults. It's in Redmond. It's co-located with the shelter. They're asking $16,500. That The Sammamish resident count in 2019 was 8. The projection for 2021 is 8. We're recommending $10,000 on that $16,500 they asked for. Their ages are 16 to 24. They also do street outreach, which that position has outside funding. They provide shelter with meals, laundry, showers, hygiene, counseling, nurse. The drop-in visits range from 30 minutes to several hours. Those of us who have dropped by there in the time of the shelter, there's a lot of kids that are turned away because there's just no room. But they do offer the drop-in services. And again, this is a regional good.
Joyce, where do they meet? Do they used to meet at Together Center, and is that being raised now for a new?
Yeah, this is a problem with several of our applicants here. And I know Rita's been following up with several of them to try to, okay, where are you going to land? Where are you going to be for those 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Just an update on the Together Centre. So as Joyce and Tom referred, there are several providers that work out of Together Centre in Redmond. Their renovations are due to start. They're going to have a big affordable housing unit in the centre, but their redevelopment is going to start in February tentatively. And I have checked that most of the providers will be next door, including Friends of Youth.
Great, thank you.
Next one is Imagine Housing. Okay, they have facilities in Bellevue, Issaquah, Kirkland, Redmond, and Sammamish. We know them as Highland Gardens up in Klahani. It's Section 8 housing that speaks to their income level. They asked for $16,350. We are recommending $15,000. We gave them $15,000 in 2019. They have 48 Sammamish residents in 2019. They're projecting 50 in 2021. The COVID-19 impact for them, losing jobs, needing more things. What Imagine Housing has provided quite a bit of in these last several months is basic needs supplies, cleaning, the masks. They provide training and workshops. They have community meals. They are part of us. Again, we're recommending $15,000. Next one is Congregations for Homeless. This is a men's shelter. It's a 24-hour shelter. It has been a 12-hour shelter. This one is in Bellevue. They have 100 men per day for shelter, meals, case management, and laundry. Ages are 18 up. Incomes are below the 30%. 42% of their participants are of color. 50% of their participants are disabled. 40% are chronically homeless, and 20% are over age 55. There were 2 Sammamish residents in 2019. There are 6 projected for 2021. And I don't know how the housing rental is going to improve on the outside for anybody. They asked for $13,600 because of the extension to 24-hour. We're recommending $5,500. We gave them $5,000 the last time. I'd like to do more.
What did we give them last time? Sorry.
5,000.
5. Okay. Thank you.
Number 10 for me is Catholic Community Services. And this is a new place. So it's a new Bethlehem place for families. So it's not just men. You notice that Sophia's Place is women and Congregations for Homeless is men. Catholic Community Services offers this for families. Being new, They're asking for 10,000. We're recommending 10,000. This is replacing the rotating shelter. It includes, of course, shelter hygiene, meals, case management, medical, job coaching, children activities. In 2019, 35% of their participants were Black. They have a day center, drop-ins for laundry, shower, personal care, clothing bank, safe place to rest, and housing case management. Again, we're recommending 10,000. They asked for 10,000. Projection, 1, who knows? Nice thing about homeless, you don't know whether you will be one or when. And then I turn this over to CJ.
I'm sorry, Joyce, can you tell me for Catholic Community Services, how much again?
They asked for 10, we're recommending 10,000.
Thank you.
My turn?
Your turn.
Friends of Youth. It's a youth and young adult center. It has 2 year-round shelters for young adults that are experiencing homelessness. They provide temporary shelter for youth under 18 at the landing, and then they also do 24 more at Youth Haven in Kirkland. They are asking for 10,000. No, they are asking for 10,000, and we are willing to give them 10,000. Questions? No. Okay.
Yeah, one question. Do we have Sammamish youth that have been served last year or projected for next year?
There were 2 in 2019, projected 3 in 2021.
Thank you.
It's original bid. We gave them 5,000 last time.
The next one is a health point for dental care. And that serves low-income clients, all sorts of different kinds of dental care. They can receive diagnostic care, preventative care, restorative programs. It's about anything you need for dental. Dental is a big problem because the state Medicaid does not accept people who need preventative dental care. And the clinic is located in Redmond. They are asking for 10,000, and we are offering 4,000.
We gave them 4,000 in 2019. There's 251 Sammamish residents who participate, and they're projecting 251.
The next one is medical care, and we did not. They asked for 10,000, but because of what they're having problems with where they're going to locate it, we are not suggesting any amount for them at all.
There were 0 participants from Sammamish in 2019, or projected for 2021.
And just for clarity, they don't know where they're going to be located. Is that part of the issue?
Rita, I think, contacted them. Rita, what did they tell you?
They assured me that it would be very close to Redmond, and it would definitely be an east side base location. They hadn't determined where, though.
Wasn't there something about the fact that they weren't sure when they'd be able to open? I thought that was a note that you sent them.
Yeah, so I think they're still up in the air as to when they actually have to vacate the property. But they did assure that the clinic would definitely be within the east side so people will be able to easily access that.
I do not believe, Joyce, correct me on this, but I do not believe that we gave them any money last year.
Correct.
Okay. The next one is Kids for Peace, and we did not help them last year, and we were not offering anything this year. Kids for Peace is being run by the who are they? The same group that's the MAPS, no, the MCRC group, and they are wanting to give money to distribute kits with basic needs for people experiencing homelessness. They've also asked for 2 other grants from us, which you'll see later. And other than saying we just weren't moved to give 3 different grants for this one organization. Joyce, can you add anything on that?
You'll see those later on.
No questions? Okay. Lake Washington Schools Foundation, we've helped them for a number of years. Their weekly food packs on the weekend for children in Lake Washington School District, and that would include Sammamish, Redmond, and Kirkland. They serve over 982 families each week, and they did get some money from COVID, but I do not know what that amount is. And the program is run by the leadership team of the Washington Schools Foundation.
There were 34 Sammamish residents helped in 2019, 37 projected for 21. We gave them 5,000 last year. They asked for 10. We're recommending 7,500.
Okay. The next one is Friends of Youth. And this is for housing for homeless young adults and children. Last year they requested 9,000, and this year we're recommending 6,000. They have 47 units located between Redmond, Kirkland, Bothell, and Avondale. There are 4 units. There are case managers who help navigate steps towards achieving permanent housing.
You may have mentioned this. How many Sammamish residents do they?
52 last year, 50 projected for next year. We gave them 6,000 last year. We're recommending 6,000 for this year.
Thank you.
So the next one is the first one, the Muslim Association of
Peter Town.
I thought somebody else was saying something. Keep going or stop here? I don't know what's happening.
We got 3 more to go.
I think there's just,
I thought somebody was talking in the background.
yeah, it was just background noise.
All right. CJ?
This is, they help people with food and gas distribution. I don't believe we helped them last year, and this year they're asking for $5,000. Their office is in Redmond at the Together Center.
This one is the information. CJ, this is the information referral resources one.
Yes.
They asked for 7,500.
Okay, any questions or?
So just for clarity, what is it they do? They help with information for someone who walks in and says, "Where do I turn?"
That's exactly what they do. Help
It's
people
new.
who have cultural and language barriers, and they're in Redmond.
It's a new program. They had 89 Sammamish residents assisted in last year. They're projecting 90 for this next year. It is new. We haven't given them before. They asked for 7,500. We're recommending 2,500.
Thank
You'll
you.
see that we're more generous with their next one.
Okay, so the next one is the Hope Link Housing. The Hope Link Housing, we are, they requested 5,150, and that's what we are suggesting, recommended, 5,150. They have 19 units of emergency shelter and 51 units of transitional housing and 3 units of permanent housing. And the clients in there get comprehensive case management services, and they also get access to any of the other HopeLink services, including employment, financial education, and adult education.
Are they located down in? Are they in Redmond at their facility down there?
I don't have the information available. Joyce, do you know about that?
I'm not seeing it here.
Many of us have been there. I don't think they have housing there, but maybe it's nearby.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next one is the HopeLink Emergency Food. They are asking 5,000, and we are recommending 5,000. It's for households that hit the 300% of federal poverty. Qualifying households can come twice a month. They can get an emergency food bag if they need it by just stopping in there. They can just request a bag and get it. They can also provide, as I understand it, some home delivery.
There were
Anything else, Joyce?
151 Sammamish residents last year, 156 projected for next year. We know that emergency food is going to be a continuing need. We don't know what's happening with the economy, the rent, the housing, and everything else that is scary for people. We gave them 5,000 last year. We're recommending 5,000 this next time.
This is the second grant for the MCRC. It's to provide food and distribution programs for people who need it. And it'll assure anybody in acute need of sustenance or transportation to help with that. We are asking for 5,000, and we're giving 5,000. And I believe this is the first year we've also helped them.
Yeah, it's new to us. There were 70 Sammamish residents last year. We're projecting 100 for next year. There's going to be continuing need here.
And we've never given anything to MAPS, is that correct?
They haven't asked. Now they are. And they'll help anybody who walks in the door. You don't have to be Muslim to shoot it down.
Thank you.
Okay, Terry, it's all yours.
Thanks, CJ. I hope everybody can hear me all right. I have the last, represent the smallest request. Our first is the Washington. We are recommending, they have requested $4,643. We are recommending $3,000, which is a $500 increase over what was awarded in 2019. This is the place you call when if you think somebody's taken poison, and the little yuck stickers and those kinds of things. In the past, they provided services used by over 150 of our residents. So we think that this is the only organization, it's certainly on the east side and maybe in Washington, that provides this service, and it's an important service for our residents. So again, we're recommending $3,000.
Can I ask
So
a
any
question?
questions?
Yes. What other cities on the east side donate or give grants to the Poison Center?
Portland,
Every city.
Auburn gave them
Let's see,
10,000.
Every city?
Well, but a lot of cities on the east side, Bellevue awarded nothing in 2019. They're requesting 10,000 from Bellevue. Issaquah awarded nothing. They're requesting 4,000. Kirkland awarded 5,000 last 2019. We awarded 2,500 in 2019. Redmond awarded nothing. And I'm assuming that they made requests to all those cities, but Redmond awarded nothing. So those are the east side cities.
Okay, thank you.
It's kind of interesting on that because Sammamish had 369 residents out last year, and they're projecting for next year 246. It's kind of intriguing because you don't know when you might need them. When you splash paint in your eye, like I did, it's a good source.
Right. Oh, any more questions? The next application is for the Bridge Disability Ministries. This is, they have requested $4,500. We are recommending $2,000. This is the first time we funded this organization. What they do is, as it says here, they provide walkers, wheelchairs, those kinds of things to low-income people. They have served over 170 of our residents. I think we viewed this as we haven't given them money, but it looks like they're providing an important service. Let's give them some money. That's why we're recommending less than 50% of what they're requesting, but to see how well they are performing.
Terry, this is Jody. Can you repeat that? You kind of went out on sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. I've had this problem before. I need to keep going. What I said was, I think we're providing a little bit of seed money. Sort of, we've never funded them in the past, but we think that they're providing a valuable service to the Sammamish residents. They serve over 170. We're recommending less than 50% of what they're requesting.
The amount
Joyce,
is
the amount, they are requesting $4,500, and we're recommending $2,000.
Thank you.
170 number of units was the number of pieces of equipment that was provided to Sammamish residents. I know I had to borrow a wheelchair for my mother one time, and I had it for about 2 months and didn't need it anymore, gave it back, and it was just a lifesaving to be able to have that.
Joyce, do you and CJ recall why we decided not to fund this last year? Because I think it
You
came
were on that
under
committee,
our,
you should know.
I think it came under our review.
I think in last year's grant, they were doing a number of other services besides just renting out equipment and pieces of things like that. I think they were doing some ministries to people, to low-income people. And I tried, when I was a pharmacist, my pharmacy had medical equipment and supplies, and the cost of running a rental business is not very much at all because those things rarely break. And I think because of what information I brought to the table, I think we gave a lot less because we didn't think they needed that much.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Aside here, CJ and I have done a lot of site visits and grants through Rotary to many organizations, and we've supported bridge ministries in the past. And the equipment loan stuff is great. The equipment repair is kind of, well, okay. The ministries part was kind of uncomfortable for us.
Any more questions? Then moving on, the next application is another HopeLink application. This relates to their employment services. They have requested 4,000. We are recommending 2,000. What they do is they provide basically employment services to those below 200% of the federal poverty limit. One of the things that I think appealed to us is it's one of the relatively few applications that deals with employment. Others do to a certain extent, but this is an application that deals primarily solely with employment. They have helped approximately in the past about 50 residents of Sammamish. Any questions? Moving on. This is Eastside Baby Corner. We heard in the public section period of our meeting, we heard from Tom Edgerton speaking on behalf of this application. They have requested $3,600, and we are recommending to fully fund that at $3,600. This, again, it has served for this over 1,300 bundles of things like diapers, formula. They do it in 3-day supply packages. It's a service that certainly by the numbers that are used by our residents. We last year we awarded them $3,000. So this is a slight increase of $600 over what we did last year. Any questions? Now, moving on, I'm going to jump around a little bit because we have 3 congregations for homeless applications that I think I'd like to talk about together. The first is housing navigation. The second is the rotating shelter. And then the last application is for an actual housing program that does not rotate. The housing navigation, it provides services, as it says, to help to help people navigate the system, which I think we know that it's how difficult it can be to do. You mentioned when we started about a regional approach, and I believe in that also. And I think Congregations for the Homeless is a valuable example of how it is dealing with a regional problem. So if we were to look at the individual numbers, for example, navigation program, it only projects serving one individual in a permanent housing situation. So the numbers are very small, but I think that particularly when you're dealing with, as somebody said, with homeless individuals, it can be very misleading. For the navigation program, they have requested $3,300, and we are recommending $2,500. The rotating shelter is, I think, maybe my recollection is, Chris, maybe what Congregations for the Homeless is perhaps where it started, where it's on a monthly basis, it moves around. That's where they got their name. They are, again, I think on a regional basis, they provide a valuable service. They are requesting $3,000, and we are recommending for the rotating shelter $2,250. And then lastly, there's a Congregation for the Homeless, a housing program, which deals with, as you can see, 70 units in supportive housing. The men pay rent equal to 30% of their income. This is really the transitional housing that I think everybody wants to see. I mean, yeah, it's important that we provide host services or services for the homeless, but what the goal is to get them into housing and into a stable living environment. They are recommending, they're asking for $1,500, and we are recommending that that be fully funded. So any questions with respect to Congregations for the Homeless? Because I jumped around a bit, let me repeat those numbers again. Housing navigation, we're recommending $2,500. We're recommending $2,250, and the housing, we're recommending $1,500.
Terry, do you know in last year or last cycle how much we gave Congregation for Homeless?
Total or by program?
Just total.
Let me.
Well, whatever.
For housing navigation, we gave them nothing in 2019. For rotating shelter, we gave them $2,250. So we're increasing that by about $750. For the housing program, we gave them $1,343 in 2019, and we're recommending an increase to that to $1,500.
Thank you.
Let's see if we. I know I'm putting you on the spot, Rita. If we go to the Assistance League.
Yep, it's on there, Terry.
Thank you. They are requesting $2,000, and we are recommending to fully fund that at $2,000. This provides basically direct school supplies and clothing through gift cards that are provided to families to allow them to shop. Last year, we funded them at $2,000, so we are recommending that we fund them at the same level for 2021.
So I have a question.
Sure.
If we go into distance learning, did they indicate how they intend to implement their program?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure we asked that question. Rita, do you know the answer to that?
So they didn't talk to that in the application. However, my sense is that this is a once a year event that happens in fall, and even if kids aren't having school, kids still need clothes. So I'm sensing that they would end up doing something where like a staggered opportunities to come to Fred Meyer and get your gift card and use it, but they haven't quantified exactly how that will work, but I can look into that if needed.
I was just curious. It's okay. Thank you.
And everybody has a volunteer shopper that works there, goes there to the Fred Meyer for each kid. And the recommendations for each child who is served by this comes from the school. And they are known as youth for income needs and all, just to make them look like other kids and have something new.
So they're assigned someone who can kind of help them with regard to, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a neat connection. Nice. Okay.
Any other questions? So the next is the Fair Housing Center of Washington. They have requested $2,000. We are recommending nothing for them. Not funding. What this program does is it provides, as you see, it provides general training on fair housing laws to combat illegal housing discrimination jobs. It's a valuable, I'm sure, but it really has little. They show little impact to our residents. If we can transition into the next program, and I think it helps explain why we're not recommending anything for fair housing, because the last application is for the King County Bar Association Bono services, and provides low-income residents with free legal consultations in family law, debt, bankruptcy, and immigration. This is similar to a program somewhat similar to the East Side legal assistance program, but this provides real hands-on, direct help with issues with housing issues, which again they have in the past served over 40 of our residents. We are recommending that they be funded at the same level as 2019.
Which is how much?
And
Okay.
hold on a second. We are. Let's see. They have asked for $1,200, and we're recommending $1,200. And that is my last one.
Thank you. So I have a question for Rita. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I need your help. What is our total ask right now?
Is that for basic needs?
No, for everybody.
Oh, okay. So would you like me to go onto the PowerPoint, or should I bring the Excel spreadsheet? I can bring up the Excel. So let me just show you. So that's just showing the priority areas and the requested amounts and the commissioner's recommended amounts. So the requested total is $787,588. And with your fantastic work, commissioners, we've brought down the number to $488,033.
And our budget goal is what, 325?
Hold on. Yes, it is. I can bring up the PowerPoint, and would you like to move on to that?
Yeah, if we could. We
Okay,
finished the review
sure.
already.
Let me just say, really nice job to basic needs. You guys plowed through a lot, and it was very understandable and connected to last time. And I just felt like your rationale at every point made a lot of sense. So I just wanted to acknowledge it.
Definitely a big stat.
Can't
I
see.
agree. You guys did, that's a lot of proposals to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And we wanted to be fair to men, women, children, you know, the whole bit. And
Yeah, a lot
also
of
looking at the
constituents.
mental health and domestic violence issues there too.
Right.
Okay, so we're just going to go through, our intent here is to just really give you guys an overview of the process, what we've done and where we're headed, just to tee you guys up for a discussion. So we're just going to go through what we've done so far to date, and I don't know why it's not coming up. Oh, it's animated. Look at that. Okay. So the process to date. So initially we had the grant score sheet that you all had, and that aligned with the needs assessment. As you recall, we assigned all your the commissions to different subgroups. And then as commissioners, you all went into your subgroups, took your grants, and you independently reviewed those grants. And the score sheet provided like a first touch to provide some guidance. Then subgroups met virtually, and I have to say you all worked very well virtually. It was very efficient and very well done. So subgroups met virtually, and you guys debated and discussed, and then you brought together some group recommendations, which you then, as shown tonight, presented to the full commission. So tonight, commissioners, your challenge is to reconcile the refined grant recommendations with the budgeted funding. So our expected budget, and we have not heard anything otherwise, is based on the last go around, and the expected budget is $325,445. Your current recommendation as commissioners after deliberation is $488,033. So the challenge here is reducing by $162,588 to align with the budget. So to get to that magic number of $325,445. So, I'm sorry? Well, oh, you disappeared?
Yeah.
Mike Saver.
You might have nudged the webcam off.
It says your webcam is on, Joyce.
Do what?
Joyce, can you see the presentation?
I can see
Join
all of
the group.
you but me. I cannot see me. I can see the presentation.
Okay.
It says that your webcam is on right now.
Maybe is your webcam on or?
It says it is.
Let's try turning it off and turning it back on. Sometimes that works.
Okay, I'll back out of this thing. How do I get out of it?
No, now just open the webcam again.
Good luck.
Share my webcam. Thank you. Perfect. There it is.
Yay, there we are. Fabulous. Okay.
Did that come from you,
We're all
Mike?
here. Wonderful. The Mike made it happen. That's right. So tonight and the next commission meeting, we have to refine our preliminary recommendations at $488,000 to get down to our budgeted funding, the magic number of $325,000. So we have to kind of like talk and decide and implement a method for achieving that magic number of $325,445. And then approving that recommendation. And then as a commission, considering if you are requesting additional funding as well. So that is the challenge for you all this evening and beyond.
So
Thank you,
Rita,
Rita.
last year, what was the total funding? What was the total budget for last year? And didn't we ask for an increase? I don't remember all the details.
Yes. So if you recall, last go round, the budgeted amount was like 240,000, I believe. And then as a commission, you hit that number, and then you had an additional ask. And then as a commission, I remember the chair and the vice chair went and presented to council, who approved the additional recommendation. We're assuming it's still sticking at 325,445. So that's the number we have to achieve and get to. And then as a commission, it's the will of the commission to decide if they would like to ask for additional funding.
So last year the process was a little different. So you didn't get a big number and then whittle it down. You sort of whittled it as you went along.
So Terry, we did have a big number, maybe not as big a disparity as we have now, but we did have, so the recommendation of the subgroups met, it was higher than the budgeted amount. So, everyone sort of got some gloves on and, everyone debated and then they got to that magic number. And then they had an additional ask of extra money. So they went to council to say, hey, look, we got to your number. However, we also have an additional ask as well. And council actually agreed to that additional ask. But we're assuming it's at 325,445.
This is Jody.
The
what
number
was the
that
ask last year?
I believe it was 90,000. Sorry.
Yeah, we were at 240 and we went to 325. And for those that were around, I was one of the presenters. I think we did a really good job respecting the budget that was given us and then explaining why we wanted more. And the council ultimately approved the higher. And so I feel like we get permission to be listened to if we show how we prioritize to the 325 and then provide rationale for going higher if we believe the rationale is there. It worked 2 years ago and no reason to think such an approach would not work again.
So Tom and Jody, I think you had developed the proposal. I remember that we had talked about a certain increase every grant cycle. Didn't we propose that there should be some increase every grant cycle? Or am I not remembering correctly?
Don't.
I don't remember that. Go ahead, Jody, sorry.
No, go ahead. I don't.
I do recall us comparing it, and this a little bit of a double-edged sword, but we did compare it to our neighboring communities and showed that we were quite a bit lower per capita. Some council members didn't like that comparison, but I still, partly because we're not so much a direct service provider, and I think there's validity there, but I also think validity in bringing that comparison along with us. And Stan, were you gonna review what we had talked about in terms of a proposed path forward here?
Yes, sir. The other thing I wanted to bring up before then is, I appreciate that we can go with the second ask, but I'm not sure if council's going to come up with another $160,000 this time. It's up to them. But before we get there, there was some things Tom and I discussed earlier today on how we may be able to get closer to our goal, to kind of reconcile what the budget is and what our current recommendation is. So one of the things would be to have the subgroups take a look and see if we can make some voluntary reductions in the group in the grants that we had. I don't want to do it, but we can also look at a force fit with the subgroups like a forced reduction. I prefer not doing that. Prioritize access across the 5 needs areas. Is that what you meant, Tom, on that one?
Yeah, what Stan's doing, we brainstormed 5 ways of trying to frame this up and get closer by whittling it down, knowing we may not get all the way there. And on that one might be, you know, these are different times out there, COVID and the strain in society. And one approach might be, we could say, of the 5 need states, we think now more than ever we should prioritize 2 of the 5, whatever they might be. Maybe it's basic needs and something else. If we have some energy around that, that might give us some direction and sense of where we'd want to kind of overspend versus the other. I'm not saying I know per se, but it is one way of saying this is going to be the year of basic needs, because guess what? Unemployment is 10%, right? Could be a way of doing it. I'm not suggesting basic needs specifically, but I'm just saying that's a way of thinking about it.
And then we were looking at maybe eliminating some of the smaller grants because of the administrative burden as well. And then another approach would be for us to do voting and try to come up with a sequence. So we thought about it and we decided one of the best ways to come to an agreement is to work in our subgroups to start with and do a little homework. One of the things that we're going to ask the subgroups to do is to go back, look at your grants again, and prioritize them and say, these are the ones that we feel strongest about down to the lowest. That will help when we get into future discussions. If you can identify any area or any grant that we can reduce even further, great. Because we had discussed, you know, we want to be a good neighbor to our local communities, but we also need to focus on the needs of Sammamish right now. We got a lot of people with mental health issues, medical issues, can't pay rent, food, and other things that come into play. So we need to evaluate that as well. Any changes that we can make based on our subgroup looking at it? And then if we can bring it back to our next meeting to help prioritize and get into discussions and actually go back to the matrix that we had before and maybe vote one-on-one, we can discuss that a little bit. Tom, did you have something else to add to that?
No, I mean, that summarizes it nicely, Stan. The idea here is, and we actually typed this up, we can send this out to you. The idea is, what we did last year was we did a nice job collaborating on what we thought the must-haves were in our given areas versus the I want it, but it's not as critical as my base need. So I know when Jody and I talked, there were a couple items where we said, we believe this is the correct funding, but if push came to shove, we could bring the funding down a little bit to this. Not that we will not ultimately maybe request a little more in our added, because I'm guessing we're going to make the core recommendation and then the added recommendation. Whether the council will support it or not, TBD. But there's a lot of reasons to believe that there's more need in human services now more than ever. So they might well. So one example might be, we had one that maybe we funded at 20K, but after more debate, perhaps Jody and I will come back and say, you know what? We can get comfortable with the core 15, put the 5 into the added bucket. And as a group, because right now, the force fit of 67% of our recommendation doesn't feel right, but we have a lot of making up to do. Right now, what we're hoping to do is get the subgroup teams to cut out some of that core recommendation. So maybe we'll come back 50,000 or so less. I don't know what the number will be, where now we don't have as much trimming to do. And, you know, we're all trying to go to the same place. We don't have to die on our sword for our subgroups. We're all trying to get to the best most impactful place. So that would be kind of the homework assignment, hopefully due in the next week, where we're thinking you would submit it back to Rita, your rethink, and we'll send an email out with the specifics on this, where then we can add up where we are now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And take a
Remember,
look at it and see if there's anything in our groups that may be redundancies. I know in the mental health arena, is it being provided somewhere else versus additional funding? So to take a look and see how they interact with each other. And then once it's prioritized, it may help a lot. Any questions before we move on?
Do you have your plan in any sort of written form?
I'm sorry,
Is your
CJ.
plan in any sort of written form?
I couldn't
Can
hear
you
that.
say that again, CJ?
Can you speak louder?
The plan that you just talked about in any sort of written form that you can provide us.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yeah, that'll go out.
We'll send that out as soon as the meeting's over.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yes, Jody.
Tom mentioned that you guys talked about thinking about in this time of COVID, we might want to prioritize one or two of the 5 areas. And I'm just wondering, are you planning on having that conversation? Did you talk about when we would have that conversation? Would we have it now, or would we have it after we do the trimming?
We'll have the conversation. Let's have the conversation
Yeah.
at our next meeting, because
So
we
all
may
trim
decide.
first, and then we do the then we talk about whether we
Right.
want to prioritize. Okay. I
Right,
think
we may
that's a
not
good
have to
idea.
cut that far. And we're still probably going to end up with two recommendations to council. Once we prioritize them, we're probably it'll be like the last time where we're going to have the original ask to meet their goals. And then here's the things that we really feel we need. And here's the additional funding that accompanies it.
I understand that. I just want to say that we have a bigger differential than we did the last time. And so even if we all trim, we might not get to we likely will not get to the budget amount if we do all of our own trimming and coming back. And so I do think it's worth having that conversation. I'm not honestly sure.
So you froze up, Jody.
I lost you, Jody. You're frozen, Jody.
Nishina, did you have something?
Yeah, I just feel that our starting points are very different. Like Stan and I were at the very beginning, at the very first cut, we were very particular about not funding things that were not strategic and aligned with our overall priorities. So there isn't a lot to trim. Stan, would you agree? There isn't a lot to trim in our portfolio because we were very strategic to begin with. And
yeah,
so that would vary across the different priority areas.
I think one thing that we may be able to do is to prioritize the grant requests that we have and say these are the ones that we feel are the strongest needs. I think we can identify it that way, and we'll get into it when we talk in our subgroup. Do you think we can do that as far as prioritizing a little bit?
We need to make sure that we're supporting Sammamish, but also, what if somebody from Sammamish needs these things that don't have big counts to now? What do we do about that? All the shelters.
The shelters will still be there if we have one or two Sammamish people that might need it. Not to be cold about it. I mean, when you only have so much money, we have to evaluate where we're spending it.
So in mental health, Stan, for example, the really broad awareness type of programs are the ones that we should probably not think of funding, as opposed to the more direct counseling. So that's one way to think about the mental health piece.
Yeah, so since this is a homework between now
Yeah.
and the next meeting, I'd
Yeah.
like sometime during the next week, if the subgroups could meet again and discuss, and we're gonna send that out in a letter to you.
Welcome back,
Welcome
Jody.
back, Jody.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened to my computer. It just died. So it's a
That's
reboot.
all right. And anyway, we'll send it out, get in your subgroup in the next week and kind of discuss and come up with what ideas you may have to make the presentation on the 26th, and then we'll fine line it a little bit. And our core or incremental recommendations that we look at, we'll assess them, update them. Then we got to go into discerning which grants are which, and like we did last time, is vote on each one and decide, you know, the value of the grant at the time. Tom, do you have anything to add to that?
What I am wondering, depending on what time it is, it might be worth opening up a little dialogue here for any observations about what folks have heard and how they're feeling based on the entirety of what's been presented. Like for instance, for me, I would say my observation is there's a lot of good that we can do out in the community. There really is. There's also some overlap across efforts. That's not surprising. So one thing to look at with these grants are we duplicating efforts at all? I don't know. And the third is that I think we are in sync with the 5 need areas. So we have grants that have come in within the 5 need areas. Some are more in the regional participant area than direct to Sammamish. And we might help ourselves by breaking out how much we're saying is regional player versus Sammamish. And then finally, in this crazy day we're all going through this time, I actually went back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs and started thinking, is there a way of prioritizing our grants? And we all, I'm sure, have heard Maslow. Well, the first thing that they talk about is the physiological needs, food, and then it goes to shelter and safety. We honestly may find in this tough time, we may want to focus a little bit more on those basic raw areas as opposed to, I'm just going to say this, cultural inclusion is critical, but it's different if you are not eating, right? So is that a way of starting to prioritize a little bit? Those are some observations I had. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add.
Well, I know, recently in the mental health arena, I had a neighbor who committed suicide. He had friends that had to deal with it. Sent them to NAMI. They've gotten some assistance. They ask. So, I mean, I left it at that from the referral side, and they thanked me for sending them that direction. So mental health is a big factor right now as well.
For sure.
So that's my personal experience.
Nishina, do you?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, to your point, like I think you can look at the intersection of these different issues. So for example, we can prioritize those basic needs grants that also serve very vulnerable minority populations. So then you are taking into account cultural inclusion in one way, and you are obviously focusing on basic needs. So that's like looking at these in a very intersectional way, I think would be the right approach.
And what's tricky is,
go ahead,
Go ahead, Stan. Go ahead, sorry.
I agree, because a lot of our basic needs and our grant requests kind of cross over anyway, from mental health to food to cultural inclusion with basic needs and making sure we're servicing.
So what I'm suggesting is that applications that really, intersect in many ways, like that have a strong mental health component as well as are inclusive, are serving major basic needs. Like, I mean, if there are some of those applications, maybe we should prioritize those that, you know, that touch upon multiple priority areas.
That capture, I'm getting this image of a Venn diagram, that some that might capture a couple. No, that's definitely something to take forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the individual groups, so in the basic needs, for example, then they should then you can, if we can talk here about prioritizing the ones that go to communities of color or the most vulnerable communities, disabled folks, maybe even the seniors, then, or folks with mental health issues, then within your group, if we're going to silo where we're going into our own individual groups and having to prioritize, then I think having this sort of global conversation now helps us when we go back into our. So I appreciate you raising this, Tom and Nishina, as well, because it gives us direction when we go into our individual groups. I also think that safety goes hand in hand with food, and so I think domestic violence. For me, the basic needs in this time of COVID, basic needs definitely rises to the top for me. Food and shelter and safety. So I think domestic violence is another area that I would prioritize. But again, within each of those categories, I think looking at our most vulnerable groups.
And I agree, Jody. And the domestic violence goes across all the cultures too. So, you know, when you say cultural inclusion, I think it's more of a cultural service that we need to make sure we're providing. So can we get our homework done in the next week?
Is there a plan, or is everybody going to go off on their own direction?
Oh, I think we have a plan.
We're going to send you a letter with the breakdown. We're going to go back to our subgroups during the next week, kind of prioritize and see if we can cut, and then also take into consideration what other basic needs groups that ours may fall under, you know, crossover, and then bring it back to the group at the next meeting, and we'll carry on from there. Does that sound like a plan, guys, or not?
Can I make a Sorry,
okay, CJ.
Are we doing anything in between, and the next time we all see each other is at the next meeting on the 20-something?
Yes.
26th.
Can I make a suggestion, though?
Yes, Tom.
I feel like to be productive in our next meeting, we should have this interim subgroup dialogue and then resubmit to Rita prior to that, like a week from now or something. Because that will help. If we can trim some money out of this thing, and if there are any observations about, hey, here is how I'm seeing this intersection. I mean, we're a group that has worked together well, and feel free to reach out to the group with your observations. Or if you have a thought on other subgroups, now that you've heard everything, in the spirit of, you know, assume positive intent, I would share that with that group. We're wondering how you got here, or we're wondering if this is not an overlap. I don't know if there'll be anything there, but we're all in it together now. We're finishing our subgroups, but we've got to figure this out as a whole piece.
And I think it's a great idea to filter everything back to Rita so she can prepare it as a short presentation or something else back to the group when we make our meeting on the 26th. So we'll be a little more organized and be able to know where we're working from.
Great.
Well, we have 66 applications. Can we get to see the whole list of what was put together? I mean, rather than just take a look at basic needs or mental health, where we can think that what is in that mental health needs to be connected as to the safety element of the homeless, or the cultural,
Rita,
or the aging connection.
Rita, can you send out the spreadsheet on what all of the grant requests were and our recommendations next to it?
That'd be helpful.
Yep, I can do that first thing. So just so you know, when you meet in a subgroup, I'm very happy to be around if that's helpful. And in order for us to have, so my sense is that you're going to look, prioritize, and perhaps, shave money off certain grants. So in order for us to have that ready, we would need those numbers in a week tomorrow. So we need to pack it out next Friday in order for the next commission meeting. So it's a very quick turnaround. So we're here as staff to help, to set up meetings, to be there, to record, whatever you need from us. So we can get that information in a spreadsheet so walking into the next commission meeting, the number that you have and how much you have to reduce.
Okay. So when we say we have the next week to do this in, we're kind of shorter than that. So if we can get it done by, like Tuesday or Wednesday morning, it'd be beneficial. Is that correct?
No, we're good. Like we can up until end of close Thursday, we can get it out.
Oh.
That'll be fine. And
Okay,
so,
good.
we're available at the weekend, evening, whatever works for you guys. If you'd like us to set up the meeting or record or just be an observer, whatever you need from us.
Okay.
Okay,
great.
Rita, if you can get that to us as an Excel spreadsheet so I can play games with different columns, that'll be very helpful. And I'd like to see if Terry and CJ would be available on Monday at 1 o'clock at our usual time. Rita?
Let's see.
Let me just check.
She's jumping in, grabbing Rita time already.
See how she is?
Put a picture on her for the Excel sheet too, thank you.
I have one
Okay,
other.
can we, because of the
Yeah,
timing
Monday-
on the meeting, we're either going to have to extend or coordinate via email on when our groups are going to meet.
We can coordinate.
I'm happy to send out emails to all the subgroups and just, and then you can communicate with me and I can set that up for you all. And yes, Monday 1 works for me, Joyce.
Terry, CJ,
And
okay?
Yeah, that works for me.
What is the
Okay.
date of it, Joyce?
1 o'clock on Monday to talk about what this can work for our group's vantage point with the whole gang.
Rita, is there a way?
Okay.
Rita, is there a way? I know we're running out of time here. Is there a way? I
We're
have
out
it
of
at
time.
8. I have 8:26. Just so.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Your clock might be a little. So, is there a way of identifying the grants around what is primarily Sammamish focused versus what is a good regional player focus? Because my sense is this time versus 2 years ago, we've put more money into good regional player, which is not bad. I love the sentiment, but it might be helpful to know that as we start looking at these grants.
I can do that.
I think that's very subjective. However, yes, if you're looking at pure data points, yes, it's very easy to quantify which ones are more regional versus which ones are very Sammamish centric. So I'm happy to sort of share that with the subgroups.
And then finally, if there are broad themes we've missed here, I love the idea of what are the thematic drivers of this. So that's what's going to inform us where we're going to put our money. If people have thoughts after the fact about broad themes, I think we're touching on them a little bit already, basic needs, safety. Send it out to the group or coordinate through Rita or whatever, because we're looking for a way of making this make sense, which we'll need when we tee up to the council. And I'm going to be bold and say, I think there should be an opportunity for the council to fund beyond the 325. I don't know where it will end, but we would be not doing our full job if we don't push a little bit here, as long as we have rationale against it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the push, but I also understand our initial goal is going to be that 325.
Absolutely, completely, just like last time.
Yep.
Rita, do we have a good list of what the other communities have funded or have as a fund budget for that?
Yeah, so all the commissions are in the similar vein as us. They're all kind of mulling, and they're all, hitting the same time frame as us, like September, October. So we may have like provisional, so their ask is bigger. Like, so Bellevue is like a 3-point-something million budget, right? Or Redmond's close to $1 million. And but yes, if you would like that information, I can have that available. I can probe and find out and bring that to you guys.
It's so frustrating. They have a 325 budget and we're bigger than Redmond.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I can share that information with you. Yeah.
All right, so our homework, we'll get the letter out, we'll get the Excel spreadsheet out so it makes it easier for the groups. And our next meeting will be on the 26th, where we'll pull everything together and start working on our recommendation to council for 21-22 cycle. Is there any other business? Any comments? I want to thank everybody for their time, and I really look forward to seeing this process at the end, and hopefully we'll get some more education going.
All right, thank you.
And I'll be back in touch with everyone for meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rita. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jody. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you on the 26th. And Sheena will get together somewhere between now and then.
Yep.
Good night,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thanks all. Everybody, take care.
I gotta figure out how to leave.
Take it from me. Get SimpliSafe to protect home like a pro. Visit SimpliSafe.com for a limited time offer.